be clear about where is it that the comparative advantage of aid compared to national resources lies, and this is going to increasingly be a case about smart aid. And we thought we had been smart because we have actually diffused, together with the World Bank, the type of innovations they have done in Rwanda to make those available in the rest of the world in order to improve on quality. And I think what Amina mentioned there also in relation to how can we now make sure that the technologies that are in the pipeline will actually have a maximal impact. And this all relates to making the smartest investments, as Tim referred to, and the comparative advantage of aid compared to national resources. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ture. And I apologize that we can't take any more comments from the floor, but we do have a very, very important leader in mobilization of women and young girls at community level in our countries to come and give us the takeaway points from our important event this morning. And my sister and colleague and friend, Nyaradzai Gumbozwamba, is going to come and give these closing comments.
Thank you, Joy. When you look into your program, it says the road ahead. That's what the road ahead. The road ahead for the women in our communities is the road today. Because she has to have life today. She has to deliver tomorrow. She has to have life tomorrow. So the road ahead from the everyday life experiences that we have is not post-2015 very far away. It's now and again tomorrow. So therefore, as we look forward, it's very important that it's not just about the 500 days. It's about today, tomorrow, the 500 days, and the days to come. As we are in this room, we have the information, we've had all the data, we've had the analysis, but we know 39,000 girls are married off today. We are talking about 39,000 sexual encounters with adolescents without consent, a crime. We are talking about age-appropriate comprehensive sexuality education, contraception, family planning, health systems, accountability, justice system, education system, nutrition, fistula. We are talking about the totality of her life. Immunization, the totality. And therefore, this speaks to the issue of a coherent, integrated intervention and less fragmentation, because it's that one girl whom we have to intervene with. As we move forward in this road ahead, it's about the 3 C's: context, conflict, climate. We cannot intervene, we cannot take the road ahead without listening to that girl in Yambio. She's in a conflict situation in South Sudan. Or that little girl that we saw at Seeds in Samoa, talking about climate and its impact. Neither can we forget the discussions in Belize or in Ukraine. Context and conflict and climate. And what does it mean for health? We cannot proceed as if the road ahead is a single highway, because it's not a single highway. It's multiple highways within which we need to secure human rights and the right to health. As we move on the road ahead, I was in the Commission on Information and Accountability and was on that table with President Kikwete and Prime Minister Harper, with Tore and others. I was feeling that deep pain inside, because we're still talking about women as commodities and consumers of health, and not as individuals with human rights, with self-agency. We need to shift the discourse and the framework so that we are lifting the engagement of women as people in communities who are finding solutions to their own issues. They are not just waiting for policies, they're actually finding solutions. So the road ahead is for us to embrace a stronger women's human rights or human rights perspective. And also a road ahead of recognizing that communities are contributing to their own well-being. There's a lot of community organizing, mobilizing, providing services. And that community intervention has to be part of the integration with our health systems because they're the first call. The women come to the local YWCA to whisper, I have the 8th pregnancy. What should I do? Should I go to the clinic? Will they shout at me? Should I tell my husband? Therefore, the community is an extension of the health system. It's not separate from. And therefore, the road ahead is for us to recognize, to value, to resource, to partner, to engage with communities and lift the voices of citizens. That road ahead recognizes that we need to approach community philanthropy as part of the new discourse on resourcing, because communities are resourcing their own health and their own well-being. The data has been telling on this road ahead that is about leadership. What leadership? Bold leadership. Leadership that is courageous enough to go beyond the usual discussion, to discuss the uncomfortable discussions. That's the road ahead that I'm looking for. A road ahead where we can be comfortable with discussing difficult issues in order for us to come to solutions. Of course, one difficult issue for me is Africa. Africa is damn rich, filthy, filthy rich, from oil, diamonds, people, culture, tradition, rich, rich continent. And yet, we have the maternal mortality, infant mortality. And when we say mortality, we are even softening women dying, children dying. We call it mortality and sounds very soft and nice. But we are talking about bearing, literally. A rich continent bearing. And then we talk about ODA as the solution. We have to shift that discussion. It has to be about how can the resources on the continent lift the economic capabilities of the continent for us to address the household poverty issues and for us to have a sustainable economies, that we can have that functioning healthcare system within which ODA can complement other than be the solution. That's part of the conversation, that the road ahead has to be part of the discussion in the means of implementation. Yes, direct domestic resources, the resources within the continent, but also ODA. And that has to be part of the serious conversation that needs to happen, because that's part of the means of implementation that we are looking at. The road ahead is about embracing technology. I work with 25 million women, and especially young women. You know what? We can no longer bury our, what do you call it, the ostrich story? Yeah? We shouldn't, because young people are talking about sex and sexuality and reproductive health. They are dating online. They are giving each other tips on where to get what after morning pill wear. We have to talk about reproductive health and adolescent health in a very bold way, because information is no longer just controlled by what my mother and grandmother and what the health system provides me or what the teacher in the class provides. The road ahead is understanding that the context is changing, and especially the context with young people. And how do we engage with technology, with media, in order to embrace a positive approach to delivering for health, both in terms of services, in terms of commodities, but also in terms of information. Lastly, the road ahead is about understanding that the world is globalized. I am an African woman who lives in Switzerland. At times, I feel we are missing the universality discussion somewhere. Because at times when we talk about every woman and every child, the discourse is more from the developing countries' perspective. And yet, I also see my sisters struggling. They may have all the systems and everything, but we're also talking about the excluded within the developed countries. We also have the poor in developed countries. So we need also to take a very strong approach, which is a universality approach to it, but more so with migration. More so with migration. We have many women who come from developing countries for different purposes, for different reasons, and where some of these systems are not protecting the rights of women and girls to health, and it's a discussion we have not yet sufficiently. So I hope the independent expert review group, in looking at its work and moving ahead, is to really look at the universality, understand that there is globalization, understand there is migration and there is trafficking. And lastly, I've read so much of the post-2015, the open-ended working group, all these documents, and I go back to my village. I'm the last child in a very big family. It was hard. The greatest thing that we have to address is the issue of women and children's health is about dignity. It's not just about having health, it's about having dignity. The greatest indignity is to be able to queue for a cash transfer, to go for and get that little money, and then tomorrow you get that little money in order to send your kid to school. We have to address household poverty fundamentally. Yes, we need the conditional cash transfer. They're even conditional. But there's a lot of indignity in you being, to have a handout in order to give birth in a clinic. We actually need women to have jobs, to have employment, to have entrepreneurship, to wake up and decide which doctor they want to go to wake up and decide what they want to eat because they have all the nutritional chart. That's what we need. So I'm looking at the boldness. I'm looking at a bold post-2015 agenda as the road ahead, which links the issue of addressing household poverty with the fundamental right to health for women. I'm looking for a boldness in the post-2015 agenda where we stop talking about child marriage as a harmful practice. It's a development issue. It's the total failure of protecting the rights of adolescent girls. Education, opportunities, valuing the girl, gender inequality. It's not just a harmful practice. Yes, it is abuse of culture and tradition, but it's not just a harmful practice. So my boldness and my call, and thank you to the AU for appointing me the AU Goodwill Ambassador for the campaign to end child marriage. My core is we need a strong target on ending child marriage as a proxy target for adolescent health, because we can address the multiple factors that relate to adolescent health by simply investing in a clear commitment to end within a generation the child marriage that we have. I'm smiling with one eye, really smiling with one eye, because all the reports have shown great progress. I'm still crying with one eye because I'm still looking for boldness, for accountability, and for commitment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my sister. Rights, dignity, equity, value, boldness. We are entering an era of sustainable development. We propose a new framework for women and children's health, building on the continuum of care to a cycle of well-being for every woman, every child, every adolescent. So let us all commit now to being held accountable for delivering this. Not holding anyone else accountable, but ourselves. This must be our vision for post-2015. Carol and the PMNCH, under the amazing leadership of Mama Gracia Machel, who sat very quietly, some of you may not have seen her, throughout our proceedings. She only left a few minutes ago, and listened to us. We thank you for giving us this opportunity. But in order to thank everybody else in the appropriate manner, I would like to now hand over to Carol to close this meeting. Thank you.
Thanks. I do say every year we should actually just come clean and call this lunch because we managed to get you all out on a Sunday morning and keep you here for nearly 3.5 hours. And I think that is a sign of tremendous commitment. And we've been using lots of road analogies. I mean, we do need to build this road together. Amina told us there's a road to 2030, but we need to work back from that and really look at how we're doing that. Do we help or do we hinder? And do we stop countries being, I loved your term, Amina, petri dishes? We've really got to get beyond that. So I do need to thank not a lot of list of people by name, but all our panelists and the participants, the honourable ministers and many others who've sat here and given us their insights and given us loads of food for thought. The co-hosts, Countdown to 2015, the Independent Expert Review Group, I'm not a megaphone, but we had a great one over there, and Family Care International, who did a lot of the local hosting arrangements. Sincere thanks to all of you. The PowerPoints will be on PMNCH.org. There is a video of the session, I believe, as well, which will be up there. Please take the reports outside. There's tremendously rich information in there. They are, of course, all online, but if you're like me, you're not very technically savvy, it's much easier to look at them in hard copy. Has anyone seen the IKEA book ad? I commend it to you because we've got lots of books out there and they've got lots of great information. So thank you. We'll be talking about these things all week. And I really hope that when we get to the 2015 General Assembly, we have that road clearly delineated. It's not gone to the lowest common denominator. And we really do something very significant for the dignity of women and children. Thank you for that word. Thank you.